since the Cold War, it hasn't been possible to talk in any positive sense about communism. Socialism, though, it always feels to me like it's there somehow.
Yeah.
What do you suppose it is in this cultural moment that makes it possible for somebody like Mamdani to talk about it so openly?
Interesting. And so as you were talking about all the free promises, I think that that's like a classic analysis of Zohran's support is, well, of course people like him. He's promising all this free stuff. But it's actually, I think, a meaningful portion of his supporters. It's more because it's progressive. He's kind of delivering a sense of justice. I think that there's this real sense of aggrievement among Gen Z and millennials in the city that something is not right. Why am I basically a white collar worker? Why have I worked so hard for this elite exclusive job? Maybe some of these people, they went to great colleges, and why am I not on a home ownership track? And the landlord is the enemy. So it's not necessarily like I want free rent so badly. It's more like a underlying sense of anger, which is such an interesting part of Zohran, is that like the tone of it is often quite different than a Trump rally in terms of how Trump speaks. He kind of names and shames enemies.
Sure.
And Zohran is doing that, but in a really subtle way where it's really positive. Like it's the kind of environment where it's like, high fives, guys. Like it's, I think, what you would call toxic positivity. But Zohran, he has a huge smile that he's known for. And for example, I just watched this clip. CNN recently asked him, one of their anchors just said, "Do you like capitalism?" And he kind of like, recoiled, but he was like, "No." Like the smile was huge. He was like, no, I don't like capitalism. So he's delivering everything with a smile.
There's so much here, but I think I'm old enough, amazingly, despite my youthful appearance, to remember the mayoralty of Lindsay in New York City. When I was a little kid living in New York City, the attractive, progressive, liberal at the time was called, mayor was John Lindsay. And there's a very similar dynamic because he promised what any young, good-looking candidate promises. They promise hope. And youth,
exactly.
And you get that from
Exactly.
JFK and RFK, and it's hard not to be swayed by that. I mean, it's normal. Human beings are swayed by that. But of course, in the end, the question is, what do they deliver?
Right.
And Lindsay delivered what, for your average New Yorker, turned out to be like a nightmare. I mean, people were routinely mugged, assaulted. By the time you get out of the 1970s, like New York is bankrupt, and people fled the city. And so I wonder, I just have to ask the question now, really it's a rhetorical question, but whether all of the young people that are attracted to this candidate 10 years from now, will they still be in the city, or will they have fled to the suburbs like so many people did, back when? I mean, that's ultimately the question. I heard you talking earlier about the different coalitions. Talk about that, about who has been attracted to his message.
Yeah, so I think that the caricature of a Zohran voter, which is true, this definitely is a meaningful portion of his base. I guess you would call it his base, is a college educated, often these are elite schools. A lot of his campaign staff went to Yale, but college educated probably makes somewhere between $100,000 to $150,000 a year. Lives in what's called the Commie Corridor, which stretches from Queens into Williamsburg, Greenpoint, parts of Brooklyn.
Did you say the Commie Corridor?
The Commie Corridor.
That is very
That's
funny.
what the
great.
insiders call it. But yeah, so they probably live in Queens, Brooklyn, parts of Manhattan. There are even Zoron supporters on Staten Island. I think there are maybe...
Now you're just making stuff up.
No, that is real. That is real. And so, yeah, I guess that gets at my second point, which is that's the caricature, is the yuppie, the progressive yuppie. But his coalition is actually really impressive, and it includes a lot of immigrant communities, especially Muslim immigrants and South Asian immigrants too. And then, like I said, he has supporters in basically every type of community, in every borough. He even has supporters on Staten Island.
You said that before, and I still don't believe you. But
obviously, Cuomo won Staten Island, but like he did get, I think it was at least 10,000 votes. So,
well, I mean, I think we have to say the most obvious thing: he's a very good politician, and that's a big part of politics, fortunately or unfortunately. I mean, at the heart of everything, of course, he's tapped into something. When we're thinking about young people, for example, if you express the idea that there's some people who are really, really struggling and we should help them. We live in a culture in America, thank God, where people care about the poor. They care about people who are struggling. And so you're tapping into something that really is there.
Right.
Why do you suppose he has been able to do that more effectively than Adams or Cuomo?
I think because he speaks in kind of familiar terms. And so I think the BLM movement never left us. I think that this is just the latest iteration of that. And I think that those yuppies that I was describing, like all of those people are, maybe this will make sense to you. All of those people, I think, posted a black square on Instagram during Black Lives Matter. You can figure that out if you didn't know that already.
Well, and of course, the BLM movement was only Occupy Wall Street, in another guise.
Reborn,
there is a simmering resentment
absolutely
that tends to express itself, in various ways.
So he's kind of just riding this familiar wave, these young people who were primed by BLM. But I think what you were saying about progressivism, like we want to help people who are disadvantaged, that's really interesting, and I think speaks true to Zoran, because often what he says, it does sound excellent. Like his answer on Israel, for example, is he won't say whether or not Israel has a right to exist or as a Jewish state. The answer he's figured out is, yes, I believe Israel has a right to exist as a state where all people have equal rights and there's justice for all. Like something like that, where the implication is obviously that there's apartheid, genocide, whatever, but it sounds like, oh, well, why wouldn't you want to have a state where everyone is treated equally? And so there's a lot kind of riding underneath it where when he's talking about disadvantaged communities or say freeze the rent. Well, in New York City, not everyone is like a corporate giant behemoth of a landlord. There are small property owners, There are immigrants, there are Black and brown New Yorkers who own property, and they don't want to see a rent freeze. So I think a lot of his language sounds inclusive, but then when you kind of peel it back, there's actually a lot of exclusion baked in there.
Yeah, well, without a doubt, he's promising things. I mean, if I had to analyze it, I would say that Adams and Cuomo were taken by surprise, that they were not aware of the fact that a young, good-looking, well-spoken candidate, multi-ethnic somehow candidate, could ride in and somehow steal all the oxygen. I mean, that's to me the story, that it's not really much more than that.
I don't even know what to say to that, because a lot of people, they do still try to talk to me about Cuomo, Eric Adams, sometimes Curtis Sliwa, who's the Republican, who will obviously get some voters, but it doesn't matter what they're up to. Like we have maybe 3 months and some change until Election Day. It's really hard to imagine how they could ever take Mamdani down. I mean, first of all 3 of them, the 3 challengers to Mamdani, are in the race. All of them are kind of refusing to get out. And so any anti-Mamdani sentiment is going to be split among 3 candidates.
Clearly.
But there's also like, what strategy, if you think of a 2016 type Republican, is there anything that you can do to make an establishment Republican appealing when you compare them to Trump?
Yeah.
No.
Right.
So you can't, like, Mamdani is doing something entirely new here.
Right.
And I think he is setting a national standard where basically anyone who is challenged by a Mamdani type, if they really are compelling like he is, like if every establishment Democrat is challenged by a Mamdani type candidate, like they will topple. Like the establishment is over.
If you think these conversations are valuable, would you do us a favor and please like this video and subscribe to this channel? When you do that, you help us get these conversations out to a wider audience by telling YouTube that people are interested in this. Also, you can go to SocratesInTheCity.com, sign up for our newsletter, and you can check back every week. There's new stuff here every week. Thank you for tuning in.